on, everybody? My name is Dan. Welcome to an episode of South Florida Side by Side. Today we're going to be reviewing the 2017 Honda Pioneer 704 Deluxe. This unit in particular is owned by my buddy Will. He has owned it for about a year, and he's driven about 65 hours and about 175 miles. That number was kept by obviously the odometer. That went and unfortunately had to be replaced about 3 months ago, so that's only a rough guesstimate of what was on there when it was replaced. It may have gone up a little bit from there. Unfortunately, apparently when you replace the little dash piece, it does wipe the entire unit. So fun fact, if you're buying one used, definitely look to see if that control panel where the speedometer and the hours are kept, see if that's a little bit newer than maybe the unit. Just something to take into mind, take into consideration. He chose the Honda in particular because he wanted to have something that would give a little bit more of a utility purpose, not necessarily something that was just a recreational vehicle. He's able to utilize it. He has the dump bed in the back, so he's able to utilize it to do some stuff around the yard. When the hurricanes came, for example, we obviously live here in South Florida. Irma just came through. The tree you actually see probably behind me over here, part of it did fall, and I needed to get it out of my yard. I have a razor, not necessarily something you want to be pulling with. We did utilize his side-by-side for that. So, you know, obviously he has a little bit more purpose behind why he has it. You know, it's something to just take into consideration if you're looking for something. So, where we ride, it's obviously set here again, South Florida. Where we ride, there's a couple of trails, a lot of mud, as you can see on the side of it. Obviously, we do clean it. He does take care of it. He tries, you know, make sure we clean it when we're done utilizing it. We have been ripping it around the yard here a little bit. It has rained recently, so it is a little bit muddy at the moment. These machines are meant to handle that, so there's no reason that you should have to, you know, wash it every single time that you use it. Unlike me, who I do that with my razor because I keep it inside and everything like that. Some of the modifications that have been made to the unit, he, you know, quickly found out once he got it, there's little things that you want to do here and there. The first thing that he did was he added a winch right up front up here. He did have, it's a KFI Stealth 3,500 pound winch. He has been through rope already. It is a synthetic rope, so, you know, something to keep in mind if you are here in South Florida, sandy conditions, muddy conditions. When that sand does get into the rope, as it pulls and it flexes a little bit, the sand gets into those fibers and kind of wears it away. So the ropes do tend to break if they are synthetic. What we did is we ended up putting a 5,500 pound cable or synthetic cable on it. So hopefully, looking at that, hopefully going forward, we won't have as many problems with it, because last time we tried to actually use it and he got stuck pretty badly. The winch broke probably 4 or 5 times. We ran out of winch rope and we ended up having to wait about 4 hours to get somebody to help us get out. So that's no bueno. The second thing that he added was this 42-inch aux beam light bar. It is an aux beam cross series with the Cree LEDs. He did get one initially. He got it off of Amazon. He got one initially that he ended up having to return. Half the bar did not work. So in the future, I think that most of the lights that we're looking at getting are not necessarily the cross series, because that has a kind of a high beam and a low beam setting. The low beam is the portion half of it stopped working. All of the high beam portion still worked. Aux beam was great about it. We had it for about 3 months. Let them know, hey, stopped working. You know, it should still be under some kind of warranty. They sent him a new bar, no questions asked. It's still sitting in the garage, and we could probably use it for something else. But so, you know, great customer service from aux beam on that. But kind of crazy that the low beam portion stopped working. We did think that it was actually tied though to part of the switch. He does keep this outside most of the time. It has a little shelter that it's in, but it's not necessarily hidden from the elements all the time. So something to take into consideration if it's outside. Make sure you have a waterproof switch on it, because I think that's what ended up frying out part of that board previously. One of the other things that he did do it is he did add a tip to the rear. It's a slip-in exhaust. A couple people say that it adds a couple horsepower here and there. From what we can tell, you know, we tried it with it, we tried it without it, we went back to it with and without again, and to see what we could notice. Don't really notice any additional power, but it definitely makes it sound better. So if your butt dyno needs to hear a little bit, you know, deeper exhaust to make you feel faster, something to consider. But it definitely gets rid of there's a tinny aspect to the way the stock Pioneer sounds. It definitely gets rid of that. So for what was paid for it, it's definitely a good investment. Under 50 bucks. I think it was under, apparently it was $10. Definitely worth it for 10 bucks. That wouldn't even, you know, here you get before and after. 10 bucks, you just might as well get it for that. So he does have a roof that he has installed on it. It's a cloth roof. It's not a full plastic roof. So it does work. It serves its purpose. It's not something that's definitely permanent because obviously, like you said, the machine is kind of kept outside some of the elements. So you can't necessarily keep it on all the time. Otherwise, it's going to rip and shred with the Florida heat and the sun. So one of the things that we're looking at getting is probably a plastic roof, like a harder roof for it. I mean, it's great for the $40 that it costs, but you know, something more, a little more long-term might be in the future. Just, you know, again, Florida heat and riding. The cloth roof, you definitely can't keep it on when you're trailering it either. So it's something that you put on while you're there and you take off before you leave, and then he wants to put it on before when he gets back home, and then, you know, take it back off. So definitely something to take into consideration if you're going to spend the money on it. Cloth roof works for some people. We would really consider the plastic roof to be sort of the number one. The other thing that he's done is he's a little mount right here. We did purchase, you know, obviously when you're out in the woods and you're riding some trails and everything, you want to hear some music. He did purchase a Bluetooth speaker. It kind of operates the same way some of the other ones do, so you can hear some music while he's driving. He's able to mount it up. It works great. It serves its purpose, and it's actually pretty cool to be able to take it off. You know, if we go and take a dip in one of the streams or something like that. But it's not as loud as something that would be, you know, affixed to the machine. You got to definitely take it off. Remember to put it on. Remember to charge it because it's not wired into the machine. So there are pros and there are cons to that. One of the things he's probably going to be looking at is getting something like a Wet Sound 6 speaker, I think it is. Yeah, 6-inch 6 speaker. I don't know what it is. Wet Sounds is what he's looking at. Hopefully, you know, maybe here in the near future. But this does serve its purpose by all means. One of the more recent things that he did install was a handy dandy snorkel up here. He actually has the front diff, the rear diff, the transmission, everything all vented up to the snorkel as well. So as long as the side-by-side is basically that deep of water or less, it should be pretty good to go. He did make sure the air box was a little more secure as well to, you know, hopefully stop any kind of water from getting in there, because it is located a little bit down here under the dump bed between the two backseat passenger areas. So that's something to definitely consider, because if you the snorkel worked fine, but he noticed that if you do get stuck and there is deep water, because like I said, he was up to water about this yay high, water does sit and seep into anything that could possibly get into. So make sure, you know, you dielectric grease everything, all the fuses, all the connections, the battery, everything else. You know, make sure that that's protected if you're going to go deep and you're going to do something like that. So some of the pros and cons behind the machine, definitely pro. The deluxe model, it does add the paddle shifters in the front, it adds the power steering, it adds the color matched, not really matched though, but it adds the red shock covers for the actual strut itself. It does add the premium wheels, does give it a different look, sets it apart a little bit. For the $1,400 that it costs, the power steering portion, worth it in and of itself. The suspension, there's nothing really that changes with it, but you get the looks of the wheels, the looks of the shocks, but the power steering is a huge help, especially going on the trails. If you've ever ridden a side-by-side or even an ATV without power steering, you know what I'm talking about. So one of the benefits of the Pioneer 704 is the 4 being the 2 back seats. So it does have 2 folding rear seats. So you either have a dump bed or you can have 2 extra seats that pop up. If you have kids or you have friends that want to come out with you, it's a great feature. It's something to be able to throw the seats up, sit them back there. You know, I'm 6'1" and about 235 pounds. I fit back there no problem. It's a little uncomfortable for longer trips. I have done that before though, and it's not like it's completely terrible. Touching on the 2 folding rear seats, one of the really cool things about this machine is it does have the dump bed in it. It'll hold up to 1,000 pounds. I mentioned at the beginning of the video, very useful if you actually have to utilize it in the utility aspect. We've moved dirt with it, we've moved trees, you know, cut up logs, all kinds of stuff. Basically, if you can fit it in the back of that bed, it'll carry it. You know, 1,000 pounds is a huge capacity to be able to put in the machine. And it does have a hitch in the back if you wanted to be able to tow. I believe it tows about 1,500 pounds. So it's enough to hook up to any trailers in the yard, move anything you have. If you have, you know, we have horses over next door here. You know, they're moving bales of hay around all the time. Definitely something you can just hook up to a small trailer, pull anything that you want to. Even if I put my razor on a trailer, it's powerful enough I can move it throughout the yard, and you know, just to get it to where I wanted it to be for my truck. So it's a huge you know, benefit to be able to do that as well. A lot of people like the Pioneer, the Hondas in particular, because they don't have belts. They have a real transmission. So if you're the type of person that is, you know, romping on a machine that has a belt and breaking belts all the time, somebody to consider. You know, he romps on it pretty hard, and he's never had a problem with the transmission, shifting, anything like that. With the Deluxe, you do kind of get that paddle shift, so you know, you don't really have to worry about getting a torque band or anything like that, because it downshifts just fine. It keeps up on the trails just fine. It does basically everything it needs to do for the transmission side, almost as good as a CVT. I like the belts, he doesn't. Why he bought the Honda. So he bought the 700 series of it, meaning it just has a 700cc motor. It is fast enough, it's got enough power to basically do anything that he wants to do, any of the trail riding, anything like that. He can keep up, no problem. Sometimes though, the 1000 would be a little bit nicer. Some of the places that we go, if we go to any of the mud events and they have that really thick South Florida or that Okeechobee muck that everyone kind of knows when they go to these mud events, you know, sometimes if he gets bogged down in it, it doesn't quite have enough to get the wheels really spinning and clearing out the mud. So 1000cc would be nice to have, but for the price difference, you know, it's just a matter of whether you want to get it or not. He chose the 700. He's definitely happy with the 700, but there are times where he would rather have 1000, and there's definitely times where he's definitely glad he got the 700. So just see what, you know, you think is good for you. If you're the type of person you want to get on it and romp really hard, maybe look at the 1000. If you just want to, you know, be able to do the yard work, do the utility, ride some trails, keep up at the mud events, do, you know, the basic at those events, and have the utility aspect, the 700 is a perfect bike just to be able to do that. The top speed's between 43 and 45 from what we've been able to tell here, and I believe the 1000 gets up into the 60s. So that's also something to consider. If you're looking to keep up with your buddy that has a Razor or a Can-Am or anything like that, the 1000 is going to do that a little bit better on some of the straightaways. So what could Honda have done a little bit better with their Pioneer? This is 2017, so you know, you see all the technology that's out there in some of the vehicles, you see some of the other competition that they have out and about. We can touch on that in another video, but you know, some of the things that Honda could have done better with their 2017 model. It does not have easy access to be able to clean the inside. You can open the doors and you can push everything out to the side, but most of the other machines do have some kind of plug in the middle. That way you can push the water out, you know, let water flow more freely if you're going through it. So if you do go through something that is deep and the water does come in, you come out of it, it does take a little bit for the water to wash out of the sides as well. So maybe Honda, you know, look at putting just a small little vent, little plug or something in the bottom of it that would help cleaning, help with going through some deeper water. You know, that was something that Will sees that he thinks would be really beneficial for the unit. So one of the things that I notice, Will notices as well, but it's mainly my pet peeve, is the heat that this thing puts off. When you're sitting there and you're driving it, you're sitting right on top of the engine. Honda, really look at, you know, putting something out there, a little bit better heat barrier. It's great in the wintertime when it's cold out and you're doing night rides and stuff like that. But when it's summertime and you've got, you know, 100 degrees out and then the sun's baking down on you, and underneath all you do is have this heat come in there, it basically feels like it's cooking your legs, which is not a fun experience by any means. Now, you know, it gets actually compounded if you go through some water and it gets on the engine, it just comes straight up as steam and it cooks you even more. So definitely something Honda could look at is maybe waterproofing or heat insulating that area a little bit better so that the heat doesn't just come straight up into the driver and the passenger seats. Maybe dissipate it out the back or through the sides. That would really help this machine completely. One of the worst things about this machine is the fact that they advertise a dry box in the glove box. It is anything but. If anything, if you go through a little bit of water, it turns into a little aquarium. Any condensation even that just runs down, it doesn't seal properly. It's not a matter of having a gasket or anything like that. The way the glove box closes, it just has a friction lock, and it goes on, and it'll just fall right out. There's nothing really holding it closed. I think personally I'd like to see some kind of latch or something like that on it to help, you know, really secure whatever you have in there. Not a spot to put your keys, not a spot to put your wallet. If you're out riding around, you almost got to have a second dry box either thrown in the back or on the floorboard or something like that. So that's something that Honda could really do to make sure that you know, your stuff gets dry while you're out and about. And in the summertime, same thing. Not really sealed. So if you're out and about and you're in a really dusty, sandy, dirty condition, dirt and sand gets in there and just builds up. So it's not necessarily a dry box, but it doesn't keep anything out of there. I don't even know why they have it. They should just have an open little area with no front flap on it. And we do about the same. All right, overall, is Will happy with his machine? Yes. 90% I would say he is thrilled with what he has in it. It runs well, it runs hard, it goes where he needs to get it to go, it does some of the things that he wants it to do. He bought it as a utility side-by-side to be able to move stuff around the yard, pick up branches, pick up trees, drag this, drag that. That's what he originally bought it for. He's really enjoyed the fact that he can take his family out, he can take his wife and his child out, be able to go, you know, ride some trails, stuff like that. So what you're looking for is something that has utility and purpose and fun on the weekends. If you want to be a weekend warrior, it's definitely something that can do that as well. Honda's reliability is second to none. He sunk the machine about, you know, shoulder height twice, gotten it stuck. When he had the Snorkel before he sealed the airbox, he got water into it, took the spark plug out, turned it over, got the water out of it, started right up, and it's run fine ever since. So got to give a thumbs up to Honda on their reliability. The only thing that's broken on the machine, winch cable, which they go, that's not a fault of Honda by any means. It's not even a Honda product. KFI, not bad by any means at all there as well. Got about 6 months out of it. He had the machine for about 8 months before the gauge did go out, and it was a result of him taking the machine and actually sinking it up to the shoulder height, and it's got stuck there for a few hours. So it was underwater. Water did get into it. Honda saw that. Honda warrantied it without problem, no questions asked. So again, Honda thumbs up on your warranty and your reliability. You know, if you're looking for something again that's going to take you and your family out, definitely a good machine. Again, 9 out of 10, great machine. So I thank you for joining us. I'm going to add some more content at the end of this. I'm going to show you some pictures, some of the Snorkel, the exhaust tip. I'm going to give you a quick audio cutout of the exhaust itself, show you maybe a little bit of the wind, show you some of the things that we've done separately. And thank you for joining us. And if you like this review, comment, tell us you liked it or tell us you hate it. Thumbs up, thumbs down, subscribe. Thank you very much, guys, and have a good one. All right, so this is the exhaust. This is the tip that he went with. Again, it's for that Yamaha Grizzly. We don't have a before shot of it, but I wanted you to hear it as it starts up. Go ahead. Give it a little gas. All right, so I'm going to show you a couple things real quick. First and foremost is the Snorkel that's right here. Zoom on in on it, and you actually see you have the Snorkel here. What he did was he utilized PVC, run down, and he coated it with Flex Seal, which gave it a little bit more reliability in terms of being waterproof, weatherproof. We did take fuel line that we purchased at our local auto parts store, ran that, and that's what we utilize for all the vents. So all the fuel lines are also ran up here to the cage, which gives it the definite, you know, waterproofness. Is that a word? Does that work? I don't know if that's a word, but I'm gonna go ahead and use it. Utilizing the seats, again, dump bed, very easy. On the driver's side, there's a handle right here. It does pick up without a problem. Dump anything that you have in there. Okay, it's a 1,000-pound capacity. If you fill it up with 1,000 pounds, it doesn't necessarily dump the 1,000 pounds properly, so keep that in mind. Weigh it towards the back if you want to dump it. It'll still work without a problem, but it just doesn't pick up 1,000 pounds randomly. To put the seats up or down, you see I got one of them up, one of them down, just to show you what it's like. Very, very simple. Picking them up, putting them down. They start like this, open the door, literally just take it, pick it up. There's a latch that's right here for you to be able to pull this little handle off, drop that down, bam, you're good to go with that. There is a seat belt that is run up here, and there are spots for you to click it in here, and there's a seat belt on the other side right there. So you do have full seat belts in the front and the back. Kind of hard to see with the lighting here, but they do just pop up, and when they're clipped in, they work fine. They do fold away nice and easy. When you're done, it just unsnaps, hooks in. There's a lever right here, right behind the seat, and I'll try to get a picture of that maybe and throw it in, but it is right behind the seat, pretty easy to find. Lift that up and slowly push it down. It is, you know, on a little hydraulic, so it does fold nice and easy. Make sure it's all the way down, close the door, and that's how easy it is to put the seat up and down. All right, so we were talking about on the seat, this little lever right here, which you can probably see. All you do is you get your finger up in there, lift it up like that, very simple. It does hook in right in here. So that's actually what it's doing. You're lifting that and you're unhooking this right here, which the bar in the back of the seat is able to release. And that's as simple as it is. So you want to dump your bed, eh? Just push the button. I know you can't see it. It's right here, kind of where your left butt cheek would be. Just lift it up, and it does drop down. Want to close it, just take it, make sure it's clipped in. It's really funny to do if your friend drives by, you just hit the button and run away.